Popular names in real estate right now are claiming you can make thousands of dollars a month renting single family homes, but probably not in the way you're thinking. Recently, a close friend of mine listened to a real estate podcast and was absolutely sold on this strategy. Today, I'm going to cover whether it's an opportunity or just a landmine disguised as an opportunity. Here's the strategy. Basically, you take a regular single family home and instead of renting it out to a family for $1,800 a month, you rent each room for $600 a month. 4-bedroom house, that's $2,400. 5-bedroom house, that's $3,000. Same house, same neighborhood, 30 to 100% or more in income per month on that house. Rent by the room houses are providing workforce housing for the people who run our city that can't afford traditional housing. There's even a platform, it's called PadSplit. They streamline the whole process for you. They'll screen the tenants, they'll handle the rent collection, and they'll give you guidance on where you should buy and exactly how to set up one of these houses. Passive income that helps your community sort of sounds like the holy grail of real estate investing. In a market like San Antonio, where investors are struggling right now to find deals that cash flow without leaving thousands and thousands of dollars in the deal or in a loan, PadSplit sounds like the light at the end of the tunnel. But you're probably wondering, well, what are the costs or expenses to run one of these PadSplits? There's 2 fees the platform charges you. They're going to charge an 8% flat fee. And then for every tenant they place in one of your rooms in a PadSplit that you operate or own, they're going to charge you the first 10 days of rent. When you add those 2 fees together, it shakes out to roughly 12 to 13%. So that's something you have to consider. There's also cost. PadSplits are furnished. These are furnished houses. So you're going to have to factor the cost to furnish bedrooms, furnish the kitchen, furnish the living room. Energy. When you have 4 to 8 people living in a house, energy bill can be very expensive. That's something you have to factor for. Home insurance. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Most traditional home insurance companies don't really provide policies on these. So you have to get a unique policy, which is going to cost more than what you would pay in a traditional rental. Cleaning services aren't required, but are highly recommended. If you want to keep your occupancy level high and your tenants happy, this is something you're going to want to factor for. Smart locks, security cameras. Don't forget lawn care. Things will break as well. That's something you have to take into consideration. You have 4 to 8 people living in a house using appliances every day. Things happen, things break. So the thousands that people are claiming that you can make on this strategy start to get dwindled down very quickly, as you can see. The reality is, after you factor for the fees and expenses, most homes in San Antonio really don't cash flow in this strategy. You would have to get a house that has 7 or 8 bedrooms to get to a point where you're cash flowing what these gurus or what these people are preaching that you're going to get, which is thousands of dollars, right? But the problem is, how many 7 or 8 bedroom homes have you seen that have been priced affordable? Not very many. So you have to find a house that has a large square footage where you can basically convert dining rooms or garages, and that all costs money. So in addition to, depending on how you finance it, the down payment that you put out, you're having to front out a lot of money to frame and do all these sorts of repairs and updates to the house to get it to a point where you can rent out 7 or 8 bedrooms. If you're like me, you're probably also wondering, why would somebody do this? Why would somebody rent a room for $600 when they can get a studio or an apartment all by themselves for $800? Well, there's barriers to entry for apartments and studios. And those barriers are things like first month's rent, security deposit, utility deposit, internet cost, application fees. All that stuff can be very, very heavy for somebody that is making $2,000 to $3,000 a month. On PadSplit, you can get into a room for $200. They don't check your credit. It's week to week. So if you don't like where you're at, you can basically move to another unit. Pretty convenient. The truth is, the strategy could work, but you'd have to do some interesting things like maybe cutting out PadSplit and just renting out the rooms yourself and posting on Craigslist or Facebook. But then that's a lot of management. That's a lot of time you're going to have to invest. So take that into consideration. Also, if you owned a house free and clear or just had a very low monthly mortgage, the numbers could shake out better for you. Energy cost is one of the most expensive things in a PadSplit. So if you can find a home that has a solar panel array, that could help offset some of the biggest costs and make a deal make more sense. Creative financing is one scenario where you can make one of these deals work, where you go to a seller and say, hey, look, I need this low monthly payment, but I'll pay you a higher price. That's the way it can work. What else? House hacking. So if you were able to get an FHA loan, buy a really big house, live in the primary bedroom and then split up the bedrooms and rent them out, that could work as well. The strategy can work in San Antonio, but it's not going to be anywhere near as easy as what people are claiming it'll be or what you hear online. Most of the gurus that are talking about this, they're making you money selling courses or coaching you. It's unlikely any of them are crushing it here in San Antonio unless they have some sort of unique competitive advantage. So if you want to help solve workforce housing, I totally respect that, but don't expect to get rich doing it.